Okay, if you notice, I did the experiment twice and I did take out the paraffin film cover now because it's cooled down enough. But it's very important that you get the paraffin film from me, and then as you are beginning to, take your, as soon as you take your beaker with the dissolved sample out of the hot plate, the one that contains the naphthalene, you've got to cover it with the paraffin film is what I meant to say. You got to cover it with paraffin film, okay? Because if you don't, there's going to be a rapid evaporation of the solvent, which would lead to, you know, not perfect crystals. Okay, so you want to cover as soon as you take it out of the hot plate, you want to cover it with the paraffin film and then allow it to cool. Okay, I guess there will be some disturbance just when you're doing this, but don't disturb it after that. All right, and then allow it to cool. Assuming this is the one that's cool completely, I took out the paraffin film. All right, now here's the thing. Ideally, you would do filtration. Okay, but we're out of those large filter papers. So what you need is, I will provide each of you with 3 of these smaller filter papers. You can see it. Can you see it? Okay, I'll provide 3 of these. Okay, arrange them like you would in a Olympic circle. Okay, make sure you weigh at least one of the filter papers so you know the exact mass of it, and multiply it by 3 to get the total mass of all the filter papers. Why do we need the mass of the filter papers? Well, I'll tell you in just a second. All right, as I said, ideally we would do filtration, okay, but we're out of those large filter papers. So here's what we are going to do. All right, I got my Pasteur pipette. Okay, what I'm going to do is I will give you all an extra beaker that's empty. What I want you to do is carefully suck out the methanol out of it, okay, and put it in this extra, okay. You see, I'm just getting out just the methanol, okay. Don't get too much of the solid, okay. Because this is the only way we can complete the lab without having to, worry about, we're out of filter papers, but we will probably have more filter papers before the next lab. Okay, please don't put this in the sink. This is your waste. All right, so don't put it in the, okay, you see, don't put it, I put whatever I collected, okay, okay, in there. Right now all I'm left with is just the solid, maybe a little bit more of the methanol. Try to get it, okay. You should be able to do most of this in lab tomorrow. Okay, the only thing you won't be able to do is allowing the crystals to dry. All right, now if you see, I got rid of almost all of my methanol into this beaker. All right, so now what I'm going to do is get my glass rod. Can you see it? It's a glass rod. I will provide that as well. Go ahead and take out, okay, all right, just scrape it and put it on top of, okay, carefully transfer. There's going to be some methanol, that's okay. That's why I had you record the mass of the filter papers, because I mean the methanol is going to evaporate, but you want to get as much of, the solid as possible. Now this is why we do filtration, I mean, but unfortunately we're out of filter paper, so okay, carefully transfer as much of it as possible, okay. Now here's what I want you to do at this point. You see, I got most of the crystals out. Okay, at this point I will give you fresh methanol. Add just a little bit, okay, just to dose off, so you can get the whatever that's remaining in there, pour it back on. Okay, just add a little bit. Okay, you don't need a lot, you just need to get whatever was sticking to the surface and pour it on top of. Don't worry if there's methanol on the watch glass, because ultimately, you know what, methanol is going to evaporate quickly and you're not going to get the weight of this today anyways. Okay, alright, you can see I've just shown you. I don't think I'm going to go through the reminder, just because this is, for me, it's a demo. Alright, you can see there's a little bit of crystals left, so you may want to add, as you're adding methanol, add a little bit and try to get as much of it as possible, okay, out of this beaker here. Set it aside. Okay, you would have to make sure you got all of it out of this and wash this beaker, okay, and label this as waste. Okay, label this as waste and leave, this is the unused methanol that you're going to leave it as it is. All right, and all right, set this, okay, somewhere near the end of your table. All right, and then at that point I'll tell you, you can just label, put a tape on the table itself and write your group member's name, because at this point I don't want you to disturb this. So this is the glass rod. You're going to wash both of these, all right, and make sure your station's clean before you leave. All right, and then next week when you come, by that time it would have really dried. I would probably move all your samples into the hood to avoid any dust contamination, and then when you come back next week you would just weigh the filter paper and the solid, because the methanol would have evaporated by then. All right, and then you record how much were you able to recover from the initial gram of methanol that you use. Okay, now there is, you can see there's still a little trace of that crystal left, so if you don't mind, use very little methanol, but also you have to completely get rid of most of the crystals back into the paper and just allow it to evaporate. Okay, all right, so when you come back next week you would see that all the methanol has dried up and you'd have beautiful crystals of naphthalene. Okay, now if you all didn't know, naphthalene is the chemical that is used in naphthalene balls that you see in toilets. It's exactly the same, so it does smell like that here. But anyways, that's a short and sweet lab. I will also post directions on how to write the lab report from the start on Moodle. Please read that as well and watch all my videos before you come to lab. Alright, if you can label this beaker as waste and leave it in your station, I will take care of it, but make sure your station's clean. You would still have this beaker and everything, but make sure you wash your glass rod, wash the beaker thoroughly with soap and water. Alright, make sure that there's not much of stuff left in here before you wash. Make sure your station's clean. Wipe off the table. I showed you how it looked like when you came in. That's how it's got to look when you leave. Alright, thanks for your cooperation, and I'll see you in lab tomorrow.